More precise today, so it's good to see.
Yeah, you know what? It seems that way, but it's not. That's not really the case.
Oh, okay.
It's just I don't know. I don't know. It's like you said before. I'm kind of just numb to a lot of things. Like I went to the personal trainer. I went to the personal trainer yesterday, and I was training with him, and I just wasn't in it. Like my heart just wasn't in it. Because this kidney thing is just it's on my mind all the time. And he was talking to me about it, and and I tried to explain it to him the best I could, and in the process, like I sort of broke down, and he didn't really know how to respond, so I had to try to you know get composure of myself again, and he just gave me the same song and dance like everybody else gave. That just hey man, just maybe you can smile more. Maybe just be happy. He gave me that same routine, that I always get from people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, man, if one person tells me to think happy thoughts one more time, I'm just gonna jump off a bridge. Cause it's like I'm so sick of people telling me that. It's just like I'm tired. I'm tired of people telling me that. Just think happy thoughts. Like I'm done. I'm done with the phrase. So it's just to a point now where I it's to a point now where sometimes I contemplate just lying to people because I know that they're not going to have any sort of like response for me. So if somebody were to ask me how I'm doing, I'm just like, yeah, I'm alright. Oh, I'm fine. It's cool. Because one, I know that they don't really care about how I'm doing, and two, it's like this automatic response they tell you, and then the very next thing they say is oh man, I understand, or it's either that or man, I don't understand what I can't understand, or I can't imagine what that's like, or it's the I understand. It's like, no, you don't. No, you don't. Like I have to deal with this every single day. Like this is on my mind 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, no matter what activity I'm doing, no matter who I'm talking to, no matter what. Everything always reminds me of this scenario. So with the dialysis, that's pretty much that's probably gonna happen. Like that's gonna happen. Like it's a foregone conclusion that this is what's going to happen. Because my kidneys aren't getting better, and I don't know how I can just go on for the rest of my life at like 20% kidney capacity. Like I don't know what this like. I have to go back and see her on the 16th of this month, so I don't know what she's gonna tell me. You know, and it's like she didn't even ask for a blood sample for this last one. Normally, she asks for a blood sample every time I go to see her, but this time she didn't do that. So, like, she's already trying to talk to me about options. Like, she already made it a very, very clear that what you're gonna have to start talking about options here. And then she brought up dialysis, and that's just the big thing. And now that she said it, I'm seeing those like dialysis places.
They were popping up all over the
Yeah,
place.
I'm seeing them
Every corner
everywhere.
there's
I'm
one.
seeing them everywhere.
Yeah.
Well, I never noticed them before, and now they're everywhere.
Yeah.
Because that's gonna be me. I am going to now have to do this, and this is the worst case scenario for me because and I was telling the personal trainer, this was the last thing I wanted. This was just the out of all of the things that could have happened to me, this is the last thing I wanted to happen, and it's happening at an increasingly rapid pace, and there's nothing I can do about it. So now everything feels like, well, what the hell am I doing? I'm going to train. What difference does it make? Like, there's gonna be a point where I'm not gonna be able to do that anymore. And it's like I'm going to lift weights with this guy. What's the point? And I've been doing research on dialysis and more specifically, how soon will you die without it? And without dialysis, without dialysis, you do not live very long. You just don't. And in the first couple of months of getting dialysis, you're at higher risk of complications. So things like, and these are things I wasn't aware of, like infection, cardiac arrest, edema, swelling, swelling. What else? The cardiac arrest thing was the big one for me, and it's just like, yeah, it's gonna suck because when your body stops filtering the fluids, because your kidneys filter the fluids in your body, including your blood, your blood and bodily fluids, and it filters out waste. Without that filtering system, all that waste just builds up. So now you have you'll decrease in urinating, and that's where a lot of the water retention comes from. So all of this waste is just building up in your system, kind of like if the garbage men decided to go on strike, kind of like that. Yeah. And all this waste product is building up, and all this toxicity is starting to build up in your system concurrently with that. So with all of these things, your human body can't take it. So you do not live very long. You get maybe, depending on the condition that you're in, you might last maybe 2 weeks, maybe a week, maybe 2 without dialysis. Then there's all these complications when you initially first started in the first couple of months. Of all the aforementioned things I mentioned, the cardiac arrest was a big one. The fact that you could just be getting dialysis and just have a heart attack. The infections, not looking forward to that. Really not looking forward to that. The swelling, not looking forward to that anymore because I thought I was past that. Once the chemo ended, and the blood transfusions, I thought I was past that. But now that's a problem. And just there's all of these things. I think I get on these websites and I read this stuff about, dialysis is this great thing and it saves lives, and it's like, to me, that's not living. I am going to, for however long it takes, have to be connected to this machine. I'm going to have to go through this procedure in order to be able to live. And then on top of that, I'm not even going to be able to do all the things I want to do. And then I started researching, what if I decided not to do it? And what I mean, I did research in deciding not to do it. I mean, if I just let it go. I just said, hey, you know what? Just fuck it.
I'll just live as long as I can live.
Right.
This is the way I am.
Right. And once again, the prospects aren't very good, but there is this, with that comes, like, it doesn't, from what I've read and how people describe it, dying from opting out of dialysis is like a peaceful death. So there's no actual pain. You just sort of get real sleepy. And you just kind of get disoriented. Like you get confused about where you are and things like that. And then you just go to sleep and then you just pass away. And that's just how it is.
As toxins build up in your body.
Yeah, as toxins build up in your body, you go into a coma. That's another thing. That's another thing. Without dialysis, you could go into cardiac shock. You can go into a coma. And these are all things that can happen if these machines don't work. Right? So it's kind of like, what difference does it make? If I get the dialysis, like, let's say you've been hearing about these power outages, right? Supposedly they're supposed to be off for like 5 days. So what happens if I can't get to one of these machines? Yeah, I could use a machine at home, but what happens if I can't? What happens if the power goes out or the machine gets damaged while, there's some sort of power outage or a natural disaster or something like that. It's just, these are scenarios that people would think are far-fetched, but they're real scenarios that can really happen. These are concerns that people that are on dialysis have all the time. The power goes out. Well, what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to live if this is their 5th day and they're supposed to go, and then the city decides to turn off the power for about 5 days? What are they supposed to do? I'm sure they probably have backup generators that they could use and things like that, but this is not a concern that I should have. And it's like, and then he goes back to people not understanding, and it's just, they give me this song and dance, and credit to them, some of them just don't know what to say. Like when I was telling my personal trainer, he didn't know what to say, he didn't know what to do, so he just played it cool. Once again, this guy does not understand. This dude has been in shape his whole life. This guy just came back from Puerto Rico or somewhere like that, some exotic location, going on vacation. Mm-hmm. I know because I saw him on Instagram, partying, double-fisted, 2 bottles, getting in pools, hanging out with good-looking women. That's where this guy just came from.
So he just doesn't get it.
He just doesn't understand, and it's like he's coming from that, and I'm coming from a nephrologist telling me that, hey, listen, it's either you do this or you're dead. Those are my options.
You're getting ahead of yourself because she didn't actually tell you that yet.
But she didn't.
She doesn't. You have to consider your options.
She has to consider my options, but that's what the option is. Like
I understand.
She's not going to tell me that, but that's the gist of what she.
Look, I'm not trying to be one of those optimists that you hate so much to deal with. I'm just saying you haven't stopped the cyclosporin as yet, and maybe there'll be some benefit or some rebound. I mean, there's still maybe a little bit of hope, right? I know you don't want to go there because you don't want to get crushed.
To me now, hope is just a 4-letter word. That's all it is. It's all it is. I'm just going through the routine of just doing stuff now. Like, I don't even know if I'm even going to train after this. I might just go home. What's the
point?
It's just like, okay, so I'm going to train because this, I went back and I told the instructor that I wanted to start training again, so he sort of changed the schedule around to compensate for me being there, but now it's kind of like, for what? I'm not even feeling it. What am I getting out of it? I'm still pretty banged up from, the last rounds of chemo, and I'm still pretty banged up from all this stuff, and it's just, and if I were to tell him, hey, listen, man, I'm not really feeling it, my kidneys are shut, would you tell somebody that? They don't even know how to respond, because most people don't even know half of what the body even does. And like you said, the kidneys, and they think that it's just like a broken bone or something like oh man, could you just get a transplant? Not exactly that easy. It's not exactly like, if that was the case, I would have done this years ago. If it was that easy. And they think, like, they talk like this is just some simple thing. The personal trainer said the same thing. Listen, man, he said this. I don't want to be one of these guys that just tells you not to give up, man, but just, it's not over till it's over. And I'm like, that's essentially the same shit that that's the same shit that you just said you weren't going to say to me. And it's like, unless this is, and I'm not talking about being like an auxiliary person to somebody else going through this and watching them go through it. I'm talking about this happening to you. You understand what I mean? It's like people don't understand. Like, oh yeah, I saw my 84-year-old grandma going through this. It's like, no, but that's not you. That's not you. And what people keep telling you is supposed to be your prime. Not that really means anything. I don't want to get into this whole testosterone, thoroughbred garbage. Like, I'm in my prime. I'm a contender. I don't want to get into all of that nonsense. But it's like, I shouldn't be as sick as I am right now. Like, I should be doing normal things, but I'm never really doing normal things. I'm always embroiled in stuff like this. I'm always having to do stuff like this. It's always something like this. And it sucks because, and the thing is, I can't even really be mad about it because it's like, this is a trend for me. And I was telling him the same thing. It's like, this is not a pity party or me feeling sorry for myself. It's not like one bad thing happens to me and then I'm just like, oh, my whole life is terrible. It's like, this has sort of been a trend for me medically. I've always sort of been a sick person. Even at my healthiest, something always seems to go wrong despite my best efforts. So it kind of seems like, it's just like, well, what am I even doing now? And now I have this life-altering decision to make. Because this is going to impact my life, whether I choose to do it or not. And even if I'm on the cyclosporin, the damage, even if I get off the cyclosporin, the damage is still done. The damage is still done. I'm still going to be rolling with at least, 20% kidney function? That's nothing. It's just, that's like I have anemia. Right? And I can't go for the rest of my life on 8 when I'm supposed to be at 12 or 14. Mm-hmm. That's, people don't understand that either. It's like, you don't understand, I can't breathe. And that's another side effect of poor kidney function, breathlessness. Mm-hmm. I thought maybe it was because, my cells aren't getting enough oxygen because of the anemia. But anemia is a part of the kidney function. Yeah. So anemia can be caused by that, on top of the anemia that I already have. And sometimes I have a hard time breathing. So, training, what am I getting out of it? I can't breathe. I can't get into any sort of, okay, so I taught myself how to do this thing called tactical breathing. So it's good for if you're training, so that way you don't get tired faster. You get more oxygen to your blood cells at a faster rate. You're getting rid of carbon dioxide at a faster rate. With the tactical breathing, I can't do that anymore. I physically cannot do that anymore because I just don't have the oxygen in me to do it. I just don't. So I get tired, I run out of gas so fast when it wasn't always like that before. Now I'm not saying I was Seabiscuit or anything, running races, marathons, or nothing like that. But, it took me longer to get tired than usual. And now, it's like, I just do a little bit, walk up a flight of stairs, and I'm just done. I'm just done for the rest of the day. And it sucks, because it's like, some days I wake up, and I'm just like, man, I just don't. I wish this didn't happen. That's just been this lingering thought in my mind of, man, I just wish this didn't happen. I'll give away all this time off of work. I'll give it all back if this just didn't happen. It's like, man, I wish that I had healthier genes. You know what I mean? Like my dad, for example. This man's a full-blown alcoholic. A full-blown functional alcoholic. This man damages his body in terrible ways. He's been doing it for years. Man's still walking around on perfect bill of health. This guy is going to outlive me. This guy, as it currently stands, this man's probably going to outlive me and everybody else. And when the atomic bomb goes off, it's going to be cockroaches and it's going to be him. Still just hanging around. And he's still going to be drinking.
From what you tell me, he'll be right at home.
Yeah.
With the cockroaches.
And he'll still be hanging around drinking.
Yeah.
And it's like,
well, God knows there'll be enough booze left without other people consuming it.
And I'm just like, it's like, I want to be that guy.
Why did I have those genes?
It's like, yeah.
I don't drink. I don't abuse my body. And then this happens.
Right. And you try to do everything you can to be this good person. And you think you're a good person. And people affirm that you're this good person. And I don't drink. And I don't smoke. And it's not like I had a bad experience with alcohol or anything like that. That's why I don't, oh man, I got alcohol poisoning one too many times. And I just decided I was done. It was like I made a conscious choice that I don't want to drink. And I stuck with that choice.
Right.
I made a conscious choice. I don't want to smoke because I don't want to get cancer. So I decided not to smoke. I don't do marijuana because I don't like to be impaired. I don't want my senses impaired. Like, I like to be sharp and I gotta keep my wits. And then it seems like every time I turn around, it's like, oh, you think you're doing a good job? Fuck you, Carl. And then it's like, boom, and then, I get sick with something. I get sick with something that's completely out of my control. It's like, I could understand if there was like a vial of like malaria right here and I decided to drink it. That's my bad. Okay? I shouldn't have drank the malaria. That was on me. Okay, that was my fault. But most of the time, I'm just minding my own business. And then the next thing you know, it's just like, bam, this rare thing. And then it's like, oh, round 2, bam, this rare thing. And it goes back to, and then it's like, nobody knows what to tell you. Nobody's got anything to say. So I went to a dermatologist last week to help with the sweating, the constant sweating. And as soon as he walked in, he immediately told me, he's like, hey, listen, man, I got nothing to tell you. I can't help you. And then he's like, listen, I'm going to have to do more research. Another doctor.
He didn't even know about HLH.
Didn't even know what it was.
Yeah.
He had to read about what HLH was.
Why didn't he read about it before you came into the goddamn office?
He did, though. That's the thing. And he's like, look, I'm going to be honest with you. I only read a little bit about this. He's like, I only met one other person with HLH, and she was 4. And he was like, well, how old were you when you got HLH? 33. And he was like, oh, yeah.
Well, it's a horse of a different color.
Yeah. He's like, listen, man, there's nothing I can do for you right now. I have to go do more research on HLH, and I have to talk to your oncologist in order to make a game plan of what to do, and I'll give you a call back.
All right, well, let's hope you get that call. Let's hope he does the research and comes up with something. But that's not a very good kind of a start with this guy.
Right, and like my general care doctor, I went to her because I was feeling these symptoms. I was having these symptoms years in advance. And I was telling her, listen, I'm tired all the time. And I don't know what's going on. I got no energy for anything. She does the blood work. Nothing shows up. Next thing you know, bam, I get sick. And then she starts to put 2 and 2 together of this is probably why you were sick all those years ago. And then once again, I got nothing for you. I don't know what this is. I got to do research.
It's not very encouraging when they make a diagnosis after the fact.
No, it's not.
After the fact.
Went to the podiatrist, same thing. I don't know what's going on with your feet. I don't know what HLH is. I got to do more research. I got nothing for you. So my feet are still bleeding. They still bleed. And every person I go to, nothing for you. My oncologist, who I trust implicitly, once again, still same thing. We have it well managed, but I got nothing for you. You talk to people, hey man, yeah, I understand what you mean, but I got nothing for you. The personal trainer also said this. He was like, I just hope that one day this never happens to me. And I'm just like, oh, that's
what he said? I hope it never happens to me?
Yeah, and I'm like, that's fantastic.
Wait a second.
And I'm just like, oh, that's fucking fantastic. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, this dude, I shouldn't even say anything. Like, after I started talking, I was like, you know what? I should have just lied to the dude. I think I'll do that from now on.
I'm doing okay.
Yeah, I should have just lied to him and just pretended like there was nothing fucking wrong. Because I'm getting into a conversation with a guy who's not good at this. And it's like, and the whole time I'm talking to him, and I'm like, this guy has no idea. This guy has no idea. This guy has no idea. This guy has no idea.
You would think that, I don't know how long he's been doing the work, obviously, maybe you have an idea, but it seems like he would have developed some sort of bedside manner up to now, given that even if he is a PT specialist, he's dealing with ill people. Get some psychology.
I mean, and I get it. He's kind of a young guy, he's kind of a young guy, young black guy. Kind of a street type of young black guy, so I get it. Compassion and empathy is not really one of his those are not very strong characteristics that you can develop being a kind of street guy, and I get it.
No, I understand too. The only thing is he's working with cancer patients. He's working with severely disabled people. So who have illness. You would think that he would get some training about how to be with them. You would think.
Yeah, and you know what, I immediately regretted it after I as soon as he asked me, and you know what, I'm thinking, I always think to myself, honesty is the best policy, and I always speak very freely with people.
Yeah.
So like I build up this trust with people because when they talk to me, they feel like they're actually talking to me and not a representative of me. You know, I'm not gonna bullshit them. If you ask me a question, I'm not gonna be some asshole about it. But you know, like I like to believe that I have open, you know, honest conversations with people as you know as comfortable as I want to get with people. So it makes people feel comfortable with me, and I immediately as soon as I started, I immediately regretted it, because then I started feeling all those emotions welling up, and I'm like, you know what, I should just fucking stop. But I'm thinking to myself, you know what? But you know, maybe this dude will appreciate the honesty, and you know, come to find out, he was just super G'd up about it.
It rocked his world. He didn't know what to do. He just was.
Yeah, and it kind of seemed that way.
Yeah.
So I came to the realization right then, like this dude is not equipped to deal with. He's not equipped to deal with my level of honesty. So I think from going forward, I'll be a little bit more shallow with him. You know, hey, how you doing? I'm doing all right, man. It's cool. You know, everything's fine. Because what brought it up was he asked me about the doctor's appointment for my kidneys. And that's what sparked the whole thing. So I told him, oh yeah, you know, my kidneys are failing. Yeah, and I was kind of upset about it because it's just like, you know, first he said the liver, and then he said the kidneys, and he was like, oh, you know, what is something about your liver? And I'm just like, nah, it's some kidneys. Kidneys are failing, you know, so my life is pretty much over. And, you know, he didn't know how to respond to that. Because I don't know if he's used to people usually just like bullshitting him when it comes to stuff like that. Oh, yeah, it's fine. It's like, no, man, my life is over, bro. Like, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. You know, here, like, people don't understand. And I told him, I was just like, people have no idea how negatively this whole process is going to impact my life. And I still haven't told my mom yet, just because I know what she's going to do. I know what she's going to say. And it's not her having to go through this. It's going to be me. We are going to do this dialysis. Like, no, there's no we. It's me. And if things go wrong, they're going to go wrong for me. I'm going to have to deal with the infections. I'm going to have to deal with all these complications. I'm going to have to deal with all of these things. I'm going to have to deal with them.
And also manage your fear concerning what you're going through. You know, the constant thinking about it, all your feelings. I mean, that's you.
Right. And I literally cannot talk to anybody else about this. You're the only person that I can express these feelings to. The only person I can express these feelings to. Because I can't trust anybody else. Nobody else understands. They just don't get it. They try to tell you they do, but they don't. And then it's like, if you are not 100% happy all the time, every single hour of every single day, then people want to point the finger at you and tell you you're a quitter. If I'm not happy 100%, if I'm not always constantly looking on the bright side, if I'm not constantly always keeping a stiff upper lip and never giving up and always fighting, you show one single ounce of weakness at any time, oh, you're just a quitter. You know, and then he also said this, that, you know, like, you know, if you tell your mom or not, you know, that's up to you. But, you know, you might, you know, what, there might come a time where you might not be able to tell her all the things that, you know, you want to tell her. You might have to convey that to somebody else, to, you know, those last moments, to tell her. And, you know, your mom is under the impression that you're a fighter, and then, you know, you just mentally just checked out. Like, man, just don't mentally check out. And I'm just like, you clearly fucking don't understand. You're saying things to me that you think I want to hear. You're saying things to me that you
think will be helpful.
yeah, that you think will be helpful. This cliche shit. And you're telling me these things because you don't know what to say. And you don't know what to do because nothing of this magnitude has ever happened to you.
Right.
And I was just thinking the whole time he was talking, I was like, you know what if this was your, because he has a son and he's trying to have another one. What if this was your fucking son going through this? Would you say the same shit to him? How would you respond if this was one of your children? You know, and it's not his fault. He's not a bad person. But it's like, I'm pissed off because I don't want this. Like, I am adamantly rejecting this. But I can't. Because this is happening. This is a real thing. And I can't escape it. I can't get away from it. People keep trying to come up with these options, and it's like, there's no options. I'm out. There's no options. Like, I'm out of options. I'm out of time. There's nothing else. There's nothing left for me to, there's nothing left I can do. I've done everything. And then, you know, and then it's just like, oh, well, you're a quitter. You just don't try. And it's like, motherfucker, I've been trying this whole time. Have you not been watching? It's like, well, you're just a quitter. You're just a quitter. Like, what the fuck was all this shit I was doing with the chemo? If I was a quitter, then I wouldn't have went through all of that. And then had to turn around and go through more chemo. If I'm a quitter, I wouldn't have done any of that shit. Right. But I did it. Because I'm not a quitter.
Right, you're not. And you tried every medical technique that they threw at you. You embraced it, even though it was painful and knocked you for a loop.
I did everything they told me to do.
Then you have been following the program. You started physical therapy again. You went back to the dojo. You have been trying hard, very hard.
And I like I said, I've done everything that people have been telling me to do.
You're not a quitter.
I've rarely deviated from the game plan. I didn't just go home and just say, fuck it. What do these doctors know? They don't know anything. I'm going to do it my way. And I'm going to solve this problem like everybody else solves their problem with Jack Daniels. I didn't do that. I did not do that. I listened to... I listened to...
That's one thing. You've not lost your sense of humor. I know it's gotten very sardonic and cynical, but it's still there.
But you know what? And that's like... And then it's like, you know, you follow the game plan and you do it, and then it still goes wrong.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, I don't know anything about sports or football or anything like that, but it's like you make this game plan, right? You make this ironclad game plan. You got a couple holes here and there, but that's fine. You think your defensive line or whatever you want to call them is going to defend the quarterback, and you know you're gonna run your play,
right?
And you run the perfect game, and you score all the points, and somehow at the end of the game you still lose. You score all the points, however many points you can score in football, I don't know, but you score all of them. You get all the points, and at the end of the game, it's like you did a great job. You know, you scored all the points. Well, how many points is there? All of them. You got all the points.
I was going to say you knew more about football than you're giving yourself credit until you made that last statement.
Right, and then it's like, but you know what, Carl? What's that? I ran the plays. I played the game. I beat the other team. Right. But you know what, Carl? What's that?
You still lost.
Fuck you. You still lost. But I ran the plays.
Right.
Like, I did the work.
Yeah, but the team didn't account for something else. There was something else that they didn't account for. Something missing. And they didn't know. And that threw the curve. And they lost.
Yeah, and another thing that a lot of people really don't understand is that bodily functions. That's another sort of frustrating thing with people. And it's like they can't understand how somebody's body doesn't work properly. And it's like I'm at war with my own, you know, it's weird because I do all of this stuff and I train in all of these combative arts and weapons and all this other stuff. And the one thing that I couldn't account for was my own body. Right. And it's like I'm at war with my own body, and people can't understand. While they're fucking abusing their own, they can't understand how your body just doesn't work. It's like they talk about a kidney like it's a broken bone or something like that. Like, and the procedure in which to get a kidney transplant is very dangerous. It's just like a bone marrow transplant. It's very dangerous, and the recovery time is fairly long. And then there's always, and this is a big one.
Rejection.
Yes, that's a huge one. That's one thing that people don't take into account. Oh, well, can't you just, get a new kidney? And it's like, hey, listen, when they restock all the kidneys at Walmart, I'll consider it. You know that they can't just pop a new kidney in like a transmission. That's not how it works. It's like, this is, it's flesh, man. Like, these are organs that don't belong to me. And if my body's just like, oh man, nah, then I could die from that. Like that, I could die from that. And just people don't get it. They just don't get it. They just don't get the dangers. They don't see all the dangers.
Yeah, besides the rejection, then I think you have to take certain medications to try to avoid rejection.
Right.
And then there's side effects associated with that, I'm sure.
Right. A lot of the, I think some of the medications I take are used for that.
Yeah.
For transplant, to stop the rejection of the organs. And that would be perfect for me if I actually got any sort of transplants. Like even now, I never got any bone marrow. I never got a bone marrow transplant. So like the risk, I'm littered with all of these risks. It's just like all these risks of like, I never got the bone marrow transplant, so I'm at risk of the HLH coming back. My kidneys are shutting down. So if I have to do dialysis, I'm at risk for all of that. If I get the transplant, I'm at risk for, the kidney, me rejecting the kidney. Then I have to go back in the emergency surgery and get a new one. And then I have to go back on dialysis and now have to wait for another kidney. And there's all these risks.
Plus, I think you said, the doctor said it's a 5-year waiting period?
Possibly.
Possibly.
But she was saying that, 2 people just got transplants, and I'm just like, that's, like, I see why she would celebrate something like that, because of the frequency of how fast they got them. But it's just like, lady, this is something that shouldn't even be happening to me in the first place. So I'm not too excited about it, and it's just, it's literally either dialysis or die. And like, I know that my mom's not going to be happy about that. Like, she's not going to want me to choose the other option. She's going to want me to keep fighting, but she doesn't understand how hard that's going to be. She has no idea how difficult this is going to be for me. And it's like, her body works the way it's supposed to. So she's not going to know what it feels like to have toxins build up in her system. Because what happens when that happens is you get tired, you get exhausted. It's not just like, oh man, I'm tired from working. It's like physical exhaustion.
Which means you can't do anything.
I can't do anything.
In bed.
Yeah. I can't go train. I can't lift weights.
Right.
I can't.
What's the quality of your life when that happens?
Right, but if I choose the other option, then I just stop existing. And honestly, I'm leaning more towards option B, because it's like, man, I don't want to do the dialysis. I just don't want to do it. I just don't want to do it. And it, and it's like, what if, and you can't just go off blind optimism. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. You can tell yourself all day long that, you're going to get a donor. You're going to get a donor. But there's always a chance that I might not. There's always a chance I won't. And, what if too much time passes? So what if too much time passes? It's like people on dialysis can live for months up to years. That's a very small amount of time. And don't get me wrong, It's like it's not like a thing where. And I was telling the personal trainer this too. I was telling him, it's like, listen, don't get me wrong. It's not like I'm just desperately trying to cling on to life because I got all this great, spectacular stuff going on. It's not what it is. It's like I'm more concerned about my mom and what she gonna do, and if I do make this decision, how she's gonna respond. And I know that eventually she'll be okay because that's the kind of person she is.
She's resilient.
Right. So if something does happen to me, then I know she'll be all right. She won't. I don't want to sound so crass and to say she'll get over it, but eventually she'll get over it.
Well, we never stop grieving loved ones, and certainly not our children. If our children die before we do.
But she'll. It's not like I was murdered. You know what I mean?
No, I understand. But your mom has all her life, she's landed on her feet, so she will survive.
Right, and I understand that. I understand her resiliency. So even if something does happen to me, even if I do end up dying from this years from now, and that's a realistic thing that people don't want to talk about. It's just people don't want to talk about the death. It's a possibility. It's a possibility that any time during this whole process, I could go downhill. Just because I'm fine now doesn't mean it's always going to stay that way. And I understand that.
Yeah.
And I have realistic expectations about these things.
Right. I got it.
And it's like, my mom will be okay, but it's just like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to see myself wither away to nothing or be a shell of who I used to be. I used to be great once upon a time. I used to be able to do all this cool stuff. I used to be really sharp. I used to have a lot of energy. I used to be able to do all this stuff.
You didn't bank on this.
I really didn't. There was no way I could have anticipated any of this stuff happening.
I mean, what you're describing is the lament of someone who's in their 70s, 80s, or 80s, who's lived their life. They still don't want to go, but they can understand they're 80 years old or 90 or whatever. But you are in your mid-30s, and that's really cutting it short.
Yeah, and these are... Like, okay, so my aunt just got diagnosed with Lou Gehrig's disease, right? And the first thing that I told my mom,
This is the aunt that is not that nice to you?
No, this is another one that's equally as bad.
Oh, equally as bad.
Yeah. And she just got diagnosed with Lou Gehrig's disease, but because of how often she lies all the time, I was like, oh, this is bullshit. She doesn't have Lou Gehrig's disease. She doesn't even know what fucking Lou Gehrig's disease is. And then come to find out, I guess she really does have it. I have little sympathy for her. I know it makes me sound cold. I have zero sympathy for the woman. She spent her entire life treating people horribly and making just the worst decisions. And now it's like she wants everybody to feel bad for her because she's got Lou Gehrig's disease. And it's like it doesn't work like that. Like maybe I'd feel bad for you if you spent your life making better decisions about how you treated your family. That you treated them with kindness and compassion. You actually cared about them. You didn't treat them like garbage. I'd care then. But she has Lou Gehrig's disease, right? And when my mom told me, I told her, like, because I do research on this stuff. When he told me, I decided to do some research on Lou Gehrig's disease. I'm like, this is a very terrible disease to have. It reminds me of ataxia. Very similar. It's a neurological disease that affects the muscles, things like that. And I was telling her, like, you might have to, you're gonna have to come to the realization that, like, she may die from this. She doesn't take care of herself. She drinks excessive amounts of alcohol, and she's letting her weight balloon out of control. And she has Lou Gehrig's disease, which is a muscle disease for an overweight person. I'm not trying to be funny, but it's like, that's a terrible combination to have. Your muscles can now not withstand the weight. Your weakening muscles can now not withstand the weight.
Right. They could barely support you when you're not sick.
Right. And she's having problems with her equilibrium, so she's falling and getting... I'm sorry. It's not... She's having trouble walking and, like, she's falling down. She's getting trapped in bathtubs. and she needs people to help her, and it's just like, okay,
This reaction is very painful, right?
right.
I mean, it's horrible. I mean, you know, you don't. I know you've had some enemies in your day, and I know you've wished some bad things on them. But you know, this is you don't really want people to suffer.
No,
and you don't want to suffer either.
and it's like but think about the ridiculousness of how this sounds. She gets trapped in her bathtub
I know.
because she's too big to get out of it.
And her muscles just will not.
Right, her muscles will not do what they're telling what she's telling them to do.
Yeah,
And after I told her, like, you know, you might have to come to the realization that she might die from this immediately. Well, I'm not even gonna think about that. But it's like, why not think about that?
Think about it.
Yeah, it's like
you
you have to get
she
yourself.
has to really be thinking about a living will, do not resuscitate kind of stuff, things that she wants to have happen in her life.
Right near the end of it.
Yeah.
And it's like these, but you can't not think about this. These are things that you have to. These are things you have to come to terms with.
Right.
And it was the same thing with my Uncle Randy when he was dying from cancer. It's like he's not. He went for so long without. He went for so long without getting medical treatment. He can't come back from this. So he's going to die from this. He's gonna die from this.
Did he have prostate cancer?
I don't know what kind of cancer he had.
That doesn't matter. He passed.
Yeah, but he passed away from cancer, but he didn't do anything about it. He just let it go. And nobody wanted to treat this man. Okay. And a lot of the reason why I feel the way I do about this aunt with the Lou Gehrig's disease is because she treated my uncle with no dignity. None. Absolutely none. This man's dying from cancer, and he came to her for help because she had the means to help him. And she treated him with no dignity. None. She treated him like a piece of garbage. This man is on his deathbed, and she treated him like a piece of trash. This man's dying. He didn't make good decisions in his life, but the man's dying. But he never did anything terrible to you, you know? He never did anything terrible to her as I can recall. But I wasn't around them 24 hours a day. But as I can recall, he never did anything overtly terrible to her.
And she cut him off.
And she just treated him bad. No, the thing is, she took him in. But she treated him like garbage the whole time. This guy's sick with cancer, he can't move. She's got this man sleeping on couches, threatening to kick him out on the street. This guy has cancer, he cannot move. He's sick, dying. And because of her vices and she can't control her own demons and other factors in her life, treated this man with zero dignity. This man didn't die in the loving embrace of his brothers and sisters. This man died in a VA hospital alone. His family had to come visit him after the fact. And because of how destructive my aunt was and how much of a lack of respect she gives other people. My mom didn't even go to his funeral because she knew that my aunt would be there, and she knew that my aunt would cause a scene, which she did. So my mom didn't even get a chance to see her brother. Yeah. Because of the actions of my aunt, who took him in and treated him with zero dignity. But going back to the idea that my aunt's probably going to die from this. And that is something that people have to start understanding. And when I start talking about death, especially for myself, people don't want to hear it. Like, they don't even want to entertain the idea. And it's like, listen, I'm a chronically sick person. My kidneys are failing. My kidneys are shutting down. I have HLH. You know, nobody can help me. So the idea that I'm going to die is a real one.
Right. And your mom's reaction for your aunt is, I don't want to talk about it.
Right, and that's the approach that she takes with me. That's the approach she takes with death. But I understand because that's the approach that a lot of people take. I'm just not even gonna deal with it. I think when somebody dies unexpectedly, it's just like they weren't ready. It's like, but you had the time to get ready. And it's like I am in a place mentally where it's like, okay, I understand this is what it is. Would I like to live longer? Yeah, but not too much longer. But would I like to die tomorrow? No. But I understand it's a possibility that, I'll probably be out of here before I'm 50. And that's realistic. I understand that. I'm just a chronically sick person. And I don't seem to be recovering at, an astronomical rate.
Right, right.
It's a gradual thing. And I'm like and I've mentioned this before, I'm plateauing when it comes to my health.
You don't see yourself bouncing back.
Not the way I was before. Not going back to the way things were before. It's like this dialysis thing. This is gonna shave years off my life, years, and that's it's something I'm kind of okay with it. I'm okay with. It's kind of like okay. Like all right. There's nothing I can do. I've done everything. I've literally done everything. There's nothing else I can do. There's nothing else I can do. These people can't help me. I can't help myself. There's nothing I can do. So I'm gonna just all I can do is just let it happen.
Just accept it.
Yeah, I can't fight against the tide anymore. I can't punch this. I can't kick this. Nobody can give me any sort of magical potion. There's no surgeries. There's no nothing. I just gotta wait, and it's another thing too. Oh, we'll just take it day by day. But it's like
it's always in your mind. Listen, you made it pretty clear that you've abandoned pretty much all hope. I, for one, I have the luxury of having some hope for you. So I'm hoping that when you go, and you can say that's not going to happen, and that's fine. You deal with it your way. I'm hoping that when you stop this cyclosporin, that there could be some amount of recovery. I don't just a hope that I have. Don't deny me my hope. I'm still rooting for you, but I got everything you say. People don't get it. People don't effing get it, and they just don't have a clue, and they don't even want to go down that road. They don't even want to deal with it, and it's very lonely. And not only do you have to deal with your own grief about what's going on, you have to deal with other people's grief or denial or whatever. It's too much, and you've been having to deal with that stuff for a long time. So it's I think you could probably face it alone a lot better than if you had to deal with other people. Don't you agree?
I do. If it was just me and I didn't have to worry about telling other people,
right,
and having to deal with their reactions, I would be able to do this.
Yeah, because it's crap. I think I told you, because I always remember this patient I had, client whose son had died, and at work people would say, "Do you have any other children?" Things like that.
Right. It's like what?
Or I can't imagine what you must be going through. And finally, he said, and I remember this clearly. Finally, said to one unsuspecting woman who said that, "Yes, you can. You just don't want to. You just don't want to." And then when he realized how much he had hurt her, he stopped reacting that way, of course. But he was coming from people just don't get it. They don't want to get it. They're in denial about their own existence, and so they can't even get where I'm coming from. And they don't want to go there. It's painful. That's one of the things you're grappling with. The reaction of other people.
Right. And there is a vast loneliness that I do experience every day. I interact with all these people every day. And it's like, you know what? If I did tell them, they wouldn't even understand. Wouldn't even get it.
And you don't want people's pity. You don't want to be, pigeonholed into, oh, here's the guy, You just want to be a regular, normal person, and just live your life. But it's very frustrating what you're going through. I think you're fighting a good fight, and you have been doing everything you possibly could to stay strong. You've reached the point where you're saying to yourself, what is it worth doing anymore? I really don't. No matter what I do, nothing seems to work. I hope you never give up, but I understand where you're coming from, and I still have a little hope for you. And with that, what I was saying before. All right, Carl.
Yeah.
I have to call time, so.
All right.
See you next week.
All right. I'll be here.